Welcome back to The Different Knock. Arsenal are in crisis. We're out the title race, we'll never be good again. Sack Arteta, sack win, get rid of Stuart McFarlane, burn down the Emirates, kill Gunnosaurus. Okay, let's chat. It's difficult to take a temperature gauge of the entire Arsenal fan base as it's such a diverse and global group, but the sense I get from where I'm sitting is that there is a lot of panic out there. Joking aside, I don't ever want to tell anyone how to be a fan. And I hope over the course of this video, my tone isn't construed as instructive or dismissive of anyone's feelings, because I do understand a lot of the frustrations as Arsenal seek their first title for 20 years, and I'm also frustrated to a degree. I only want to share some context and my thoughts, which is all I have. And I hope in doing so, I can maybe calm some stressed minds, provoke thought in the confused ones, and resurrect some defeated ones. I think in these situations where clearly everything isn't perfect, no matter how deep you perceive the whole to be, one of the hardest things to do is to delineate the problems. What is the baby and what is the bathwater? You don't just want to chuck everything away because a few things aren't functioning, because with the fine margins of football, just the most delicate of changes could be the difference between despair and elation. But on the other hand, you are still plagued by that feeling that maybe bigger change is necessary. There is, however, one thing that's pretty clear. We are horrible in the final third. Maybe horrible's too harsh, but take whatever stats you like, and I'll use the ones MNF showed us the other night, and it's not looking good. They compared us with previous Premier League winners in terms of open play goals, and found us a full 17% behind the next lowest percentage of open play goals scored out of total goals scored for a title winner, Man City, in 21-22. Gabby Jesus, someone's on the phone. They looked at the shot conversion rate for our front three plus Odegaard, and all four have dropped, on average 10%, and altogether scored only 15 goals so far compared to 55 in the whole of last season, putting the four on course for an underperformance as a group of nearly half. And finally, they looked at our overall open play goals, where we're 13th in the league and behind Fulham, Forest and Wolves. And although Opta Analyst actually has us 7th in the league in terms of open play XG, so it's partly our finishing, overall, it is not looking good, Brev. So, why is that happening? Well, like most things in football and in life, you have to try and do a multifactorial analysis to get the full picture. It's not just the finishing or just the tactics or just the manager. It's obviously a combination of all of it. And I'm going to try and lay out the reasons for why I think it's happening. Firstly, tactically, I do think we've been found out a little, which I'll come on to more in a specific point in just a moment, but there's also an approach to our attacking play that I find incredibly hard to stomach. Watching Liverpool against Newcastle, I couldn't help but be jealous of their overall attacking play. Now, I want to caveat this in a second, but what I love is their unpredictability, and it absolutely kills teams. Liverpool play direct, straightforward, and try and kill you by pressing the nuclear button in the final third almost every time. There's pitfalls to that style of play, and it very regularly doesn't come off, but it's hard to argue with that XG4 against Newcastle. Take this situation here with Szoboszlai on the ball. What's a Mikel Arteta player doing here? If you watched enough Arteta ball, you know where that's going. Out to Curtis Jones on the left-hand side. Instead, he slips the riskier ball into Luis Diaz, who wins the penalty. Next, Salah out on the right-hand side. What's an Arteta player doing here? Likely Saka. He's probably looking to combine with Odegaard, play it back to Rice, or play a whip ball to the back post. Salah plays the riskier ball in behind to Jota, and Jones is on the end of it for a tap-in. Is Jesus even making that run that Jota does? What's Saka doing here? Well, I'll tell you what he isn't doing here, an audacious outside of the boot ball into his number 9's feet. And if an Arsenal player was as far up on the pitch as Jota was after a corner before he wins his penalty, Arteta might have had an aneurysm. Arteta, evidently, does ask his players to be less expansive in the final third, and clearly has a view on the transition risk versus reward conundrum. And to be absolutely clear, I love Arteta's desire for ball retention in the final third. Liverpool's style of play is, in the long run, unsustainable in my view, relying on the quality of their forwards finishing and individual defensive moments, as teams can so easily break on them with this risky final third play. It's not right for us, and I don't think it wins you leagues long term. But it's not a binary choice. It's not ball retention or you press the nuclear button every time you get to the final third. And for me at the moment, it's about finding a balance. And for me, we haven't found that at the moment. In my view, Arteta needs to loosen the shackles a little bit and just turn that dial a few notches towards nuclear. Then, more specifically, I think there's a small tactical switch that's making it very hard for us to create the quality of chances that we need to, specifically on our right-hand side. Last season, that wide triangle of White, Odegaard and Saka killed teams. White stepping in and out, knowing when to pull the defenders around, the Odegaard wall pass or the slip ball, Saka with his finishes, wriggling through teams, it was a thing of beauty. But now, most teams have wised up to it. It worked because of Saka's gravity. He could lure both the fullback and the centre-back over to his side, and once he did that, a lot of the time, Ødegaard had a bit more space to pick out a pass in the newly emptied gaps that the centre-back had created. Now, teams are a bit more wise to the Ødegaard threat in my view, so they're either asking the winger to come and help with Saka, allowing the centre-back to hold position and close down Ødegaard's spaces, or the centre-back is just holding back a little bit more and trusting the full-back to deal with Saka, who isn't taking on his man with as much regularity this season. Wolves didn't do this, and their centre-back got dragged, so they got punished, but we're really struggling with it overall, in my view. It compresses Ødegaard's space, removes Saka's wall pass, and with a bit more work from an opposition winger, we can be shut down. Add to that Ødegaard's new role, spending more time further back, and it's concerning. And the other part of this is Ben White, who hasn't been providing as much in the final third, in my view, this season. He's been all but confirmed to be nursing an injury, and some people leave it there. But he came on against PSV in a total dead rubber game, and has played over both Tomiyasu and Partey in that position this season too, when they've been available. So there's either something I don't understand, which is very likely, or we're missing some information. Either way, I don't think we could just totally write off White's performances as he's injured, because that doesn't stack up to his usage. If he's on the field, he needs to be as close to 100% as possible, and if he's not, we need to use him different ways, or use the different solutions that are available to us. Yes, even him. In my view, there's lots of other reasons for our final third play not being at its level, but to name just a few, I think it's a lack of plan B at times. The player's form in front of goal isn't that good. I think Jesus has changed his positioning slightly. He's not drifting wide so much. Havertz has had his troubles, and he's got a different style of play to Xhaka, meaning Martinelli is receiving the ball further and further up the pitch. Lots more. Something has to change, but I think Arteta's earned the right to show us what he can do. Defensively as well, that resilience that we've had has started to stutter in the last few weeks, which makes that trade-off even less fun to stomach. If we're going to concede 0.2 XG a match, you can live with the fine margins further forward, but we're beginning to see mini lapses in concentration. Zinchenko against Wolves, the mix-up for Souček's goal, the difficulty on Fulham's corner, just a few cracks are beginning to show. But in looking for reasons for that, I think we begin to come to our solutions. January has arrived, and we only have 2 league matches this month. Arsenal are preparing to head out on another mid-season break to Dubai, and having just returned from there myself, I can tell you, good idea. The heat, combined with, reportedly, a desire for some low-impact training, will do wonders for the players, and they'll come back feeling physically and mentally refreshed. I know I did. I don't want to sound like Roy Keane and over-index the mental side of the game, but I do think a part of the defensive frailty can be put down to mental fatigue. Saliba, Rice, White and Gabriel all already have between 2,000 and over 2,400 minutes in their legs in all comps this season, and as we're at the halfway point, if they match the same amount of minutes again in the back half of the season or exceed it with cup runs, they'd all comfortably exceed their numbers from last year. After 8 games in December, it's not just the physical demand. The mental pressure of some of those big games at the likes of Anfield and Villa Park feel like they're taking a toll. Against Fulham, we looked extremely tired in my view, and it's hard to concentrate when you're knackered. A reset and some time in the sun will do them the world of good, and I think we can look forward to the benefits that we'll have on the pitch. Additionally, we also have a number of players ready to return to the team over the next couple of months. I don't want to sound like Erik ten Hag and just blame injuries instead of looking at ourselves, but like for all teams, it's been a factor for us. Specifically though, if you were to name Arsenal's 2 weakest performers in December, I think Zinchenko and White could be decent candidates with all the love in the world for them. And their competition were both on the sidelines. It's not just about having injuries, it's about quantifying the possible repercussions of not having competition for your players for a while as well. If Tomiyasu was available at Anfield, who knows what kind of conversations we're having. Timber, Partey, Vieira, Zinchenko now, every player becomes world class while they're sat in the changing rooms, but we have cause to be cautiously optimistic, in my view, before they're injured again. And finally, yes, the market. As I sit here today, there's no concrete rumours. But if Arsenal aren't working day and night on a defender, then I'm seriously concerned. With no Zinchenko for the foreseeable, and without wishing to rush Tommy back, even if he played minutes against Fulham, we have Kivior, who's looked shaky, then Gabriel, Saliba and White, who've run themselves into the ground. That is it. If one of them goes down, it's Cedric Suarez time again. Every year, man. Every year. I'll do some transfer videos and steal some views from Bavs at some point. But in the meantime, I think we can dare to dream that the club might be doing something. If the reliable Sammy Mockball is to be believed, Arsenal want to do business in January, and Arteta himself hasn't denied it when asked. January is more situational than the summer, as we know, and you never know the knock-on effect of some moves that are likely to happen in the footballing world. For what it's worth, I still don't think Tony is someone you spend more than £50 million on, which probably rules him out in January. And I think broadly the striker and midfielder might have to wait due to FFP. But if the Nketiah interest is real from Crystal Palace and the Reece West Ham stuff gathers pace, with Smith Rowe in my view now necessitating a move for his career, that's potential pure profit on 3 academy players. And FFP might look a little better. Football, as we know, is a game of fine margins. If Jesus' head is a couple of centimetres higher against West Ham, or Gabriel reached that ball at the back stick against Fulham, or Zinchenko just positioned himself correctly against Salah, we could be 5, 6, 7 points clear. That's just the way it goes. All we can do is focus on getting ourselves into the right positions for the fine margins to swing our way. There's some things we can do better, and there's reasons to be optimistic. That's life. But I think Arteta and the team have earned the right to be trusted. So I think we should give them that trust, and I certainly will. A lot is made of the fact that Arsenal might not be ready for a title race, but it's actually not the team I really worry about anymore. Are we, as fans, ready? If you like The Different Knock, you can support us on Patreon monthly, or you can buy us a coffee.